Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Open Office Hours. I'm Crystal Hinkle. I'm part of the team here at Syncro. I'll let the ladies introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Tatiana. Welcome to Open Office Hours.
And I am Brandy, also a member of the sales team here at Syncro. Welcome. Excited to see you guys today.
Yes, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'll do the normal spiel for those of you that are joining us a repeat time or have been here several times. Thank you so much for coming back. We really, really enjoy doing these. For those of you that are joining us for the first time maybe today, just a couple things to give you a heads up. We use the Q&A. That's the best way for us to manage as you're asking questions, and these questions can be anything from very quick how-tos. I'm just fresh into the software to I've been using this for a while and I need some, A to B to Z help on this certain thing. So whatever the question is, feel free to pop those into the Q&A. We'll manage those. So if you see us looking over to the side, that's usually what we're doing. And then today we've been doing this for the last few weeks, but we have a fun deep dive that Brandy is going to kind of head up here. So last thing too is just letting you know we are recording these. We do post these same day usually, and I think that'll happen today. So if you miss anything or want to use it as a reference, we do post it on our YouTube channel as well as every other Friday open office hours as well. So take it away, Brandy.
Awesome. So guys, today we're going to do a deep dive on agent contact forms. I'm going to touch on some of the ticket automations that these agent contact forms can affect in the back end. But first of all, to get here, you're just going to open up your policies, and then under policy modules, you'll go ahead and go to your agent contact forms. The goal here is to help streamline support. We want to make it really easy for your hourly customers to be able to get in touch with you. Again, that's more money in your pocket at the end of the day, which is the goal. The great thing is you can have as many agent contact forms as you would like to. You can also brand them differently for every single customer if you would like to. One of the things here, so one of the options is going to be to use your account logo. If you don't select your account logo, again, you could brand this differently for every single customer. We do know that promoting your brand does have a really big impact on your business. And we also know that the easier it is for your customers to be able to get in touch with you, the happier they are, and the more likely they are to renew their contract with you as soon as it expires or it's up for expiration. So we want to make it really easy there. One thing also is that it makes sure that your customers are prioritized in the right way, because again, you can have as many of these as you would like to. So I'm going to go through the different settings here. Of course, you can use your logo again. And then here in the title and the form body, this is really just instructing your customers on what you want them to follow here. You can also customize the title and body to display once the form has been submitted. So you'll see that here as well. And then you can further define customer expectations. So for example, if you have an SLA for this particular customer, this is where you can really get, you can get fancy and you can customize per customer, because I could say, okay, for this person, I'm going to put, hey, someone will be in touch within the next 24 hours. And then I could have another agent contact form that might be for emergencies, and it might say someone will be in touch with you in the next 2 hours. So you can really set your different parameters here, which is nice, and to let them know the expectations here. Now, for going further down, you're going to be able to specify the fields that you want to make mandatory for your customers. And here it's important to note that if a customer is already assigned to this particular asset, these fields are going to auto-populate on that agent contact form. So just takes a few click steps, again, making it really easy for your customers to get in touch with you. I do get quite a few questions about the error message and why there would be an error. So an example here might be someone's trying to create a ticket with you, a support ticket, but their internet is down. So here I'm going to further define how I should be able to get in touch with you. So maybe, or how they should get in touch with you. So you could put a phone number here. I'm sorry you're experiencing this. Here is the best way to move forward. So really setting expectations here once again. And then we get down to the good stuff. So here I can have it auto assigned to a particular technician. You might have certain customers that require a technician with a specific skill set. You might also have particular technicians that only work on certain customers. So you can have it auto-generate for that particular technician, and that's who it's going to be assigned to. And then down here, you're going to see your issue types. You can predefine these issue types. Again, you can get fancy right here using tons of different issue types. You could have 7 different, you could have 20 different ones available for your customers from that system tray icon if you would like to. It just shows a lot of flexibility here. And again, those are going to be shown up on the system tray icon. And same thing goes with your custom field types. So once you have these set up, I'm just going to go ahead and go into remote session, and I'm going to show you where these can show. Let me just pop one open. Has anyone done a remote session today? No? Okay, it might take a minute. That's all right, we can do it. I got a couple things I can show you in the meantime, and I can't talk and type at the same time. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, I did it there. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the admin section real quickly, and I'm going to go down under the ticket automations, because this is where you can tie everything in together. So remember when I was filling out down here those issue types and custom fields, I can come in here and I can say, okay, the issue type was whatever it may be. I mean, you might have one that's called emergency or whatever it is, can't do my work type of a thing. Then I could have that fire a different action. So maybe I want to change the priority to urgent. So you can really use your different issue types and custom fields to be able to trigger things in the back end here. And then now that I've got this open, it does take a minute for the system tray icon to load, but it's just one-click branded access to your support services 24/7 for your customers. So just makes it really easy. And again, at the end of the day, we want your customers to have easy access to you, creates happy users and more money. And that's it. And I'm sure we'll show this off a little bit later, but just wanted to share that. I love agent contact forms.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to make sure. I was going to look to see if we had any questions in here. I think there's just this one. I created a support request ticket, but when I replied back, it went to the main contact of the customer instead of going to the person who put his email in the form. Is this?
Yes. So that is going to be likely because that contact is not assigned to that asset. So if they had to manually put their information in here, it is going to resort back to the main contact on that particular account. You would need to have a contact assigned to that asset in order for this ticket communication to go to them. And while we're on this page, I just want to show, so support request and emergency ticket, both of those look exactly the same here, but it just shows that I have 2 different options, and in the back end, my emergency ticket does change the priority to urgent. So again, that one-click access, super easy. Are there any other questions? I don't have my Q&A pulled up, but in regards to agent contact forms?
Well, kind of just in regards to the contacts, and I can just answer this real quick. So if a company has 40 users, I need to have them all put in ? So if you want it to auto assign like that response back to the proper person, yes, you would import your contacts. And there's multiple ways that you can do this. So do you want to show, Brandy, or do you want me to? Because yeah, there's a couple questions. Is there a bulk way to add contacts for a company? Brandy, could you show adding the contact to the asset? So if you could dive into those.
Sure. Yep. So there's a couple different things. One thing you can do is for a customer, I can head over into contacts and I can import here. Another thing you can do, and I love this, and I always tell people, I think you've heard it from me in open office hours a million times, but if you just go to edit a customer, and then you go into custom fields, you guys don't have to add this one. It's pre-populated on your account. And if you add a domain here, it's going to auto create a contact if you were to get an email from this domain and maybe the contact isn't already listed, it will do that. And then if we go over into the assets in RMM section, you could just say, okay, let's find all of Larry's devices or whoever's however you wanted to do it. You could look at every single device at once if you wanted to, but you'll see here, you'll get a drop down of that particular customer's contacts, and you can go ahead and assign this way. So if that's how you'd like to do it, it's a pretty easy way to change the contact for the device. Hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that, Brandy. I don't see any other directly related questions. So I think, Tatiana, you can take it away.
Yeah, super helpful. Thank you so much, Brandy. I love that we started doing these deep dives. I know that they're super beneficial, and it's good to be able to kind of go back and take a closer look and rewind, pause, whatever you need to do to adjust those settings. So first question here for the Q&A is from Derek. He says, wondering if you can show the relationship between policies and products. I created a healthy number of policies and now have a ton of poorly named products on the back. And I'm trying to get working for the RMM-based billing. I can't just do Synchro agent counts as I charge differently for servers and computers help. So yes, there's a couple things going on here, and I am happy to directly address the best way to set these certain things up. So first things first, every time that you guys create a policy within Synchro, it will automatically generate a product or create a product for you in your products and services section as well. And so you'll notice that, and the reason for this is because as Derek mentioned, you can bill based off of a policy. So meaning every time that you create one, sometimes the easiest way to create a policy is I personally clone a lot of them. And so you'll notice that if you go to the products and services section, if you search for copy of, a lot of mine still also need to be renamed. So that's one way to rename the product that automatically gets created when you create a new policy, is to just go in here manually and search for either copy of or search for that name, and you can edit that manually. Or you also have the capability, if you go over to the assets and RMM section, you go to view and pricing packages, it'll open up a page just like this. And this shows you which package or which policy. And this is also where it links to manage the product pricing. So for example, if you know that you need to rename any one of these copy of no charge policy, again, it'll take you and it'll link you straight to that product again. So just a kind of another way to get there. So, and then to answer kind of the second half of your question is, if you're billing on a per, either a per policy basis or based on if the endpoint is a server or a workstation, there's a couple different ways to accomplish that. So I'll go over to our invoices section real quick, the recurring invoices. And again, I'm not going to dive in too deep, but I will answer your questions. So if we go over to the assets and RMM section, you get this little magnifying glass over to the left here. And if you open that, this is how you create a saved asset search. I think a couple weeks ago, Brandy did a deep dive on saved asset searches and all the capabilities that you get here. But the one I'll focus on is you can filter here by operating system type. So this is where you can create two separate saved asset searches. You can create one for all servers, name it all servers, or you can be a little bit more creative than that. Or you can say all workstations and name that as a separate saved asset search here. So I've already done those. You'll see them listed here. I have my workstations, I have my servers. So now once you create those saved asset searches, you can pull that into your recurring invoices. So instead of you billing on a just flat per endpoint basis, if you were doing that, you would use the regular asset and RMM counter that would pull in any Synchro device, anything that has a Synchro agent on it. But for your specific situation, do not select asset type, go over to your asset search, and you can bill off of, again, create that as two separate line items. Select servers, add that to the template, again, pull in your pricing there, as well as you can select workstations separately. I'm not seeing it on this list here, but it is there. And then you can add that as a separate line item there as well. And so that will keep those dynamic counters. It will calculate how many servers you have, how many workstations you have. There they are. And always keep that up to date accurately, because it's constantly pulling in this saved asset search. And if you need to get even more granular than that, you can literally bill off of anything that you build in this saved asset search, whether it's a custom field or whatever it might be. So that's just a couple different ways to answer your question. I think that's everything. Any follow-up ones?
I just have one thing to add. So Tatiana, while you have your screen up, if you'll go into the assets in RMM and go back to the pricing page, I think if you go to advanced mapping settings down below all of that, It will actually allow you, so this is going to be your policy and then which product you want it to map to. So sometimes this might be an easier way also, just to make sure that the correct product is going to be attached and you're billing for the right thing. So this is all, I know Derek, you had asked yesterday and I had asked support. So I just learned a little bit more about that, but
That's awesome. I've literally never clicked that button before. I'm always like advanced.
I haven't either.
No, don't look
when
there.
Derek asked me yesterday, I got support to Lindsay was really great and helped me with that. So
super helpful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's some follow-up questions too. So one from Derek, if you delete a policy, will it delete the product? And I don't think it does. I think you have to manually do that. So just to cover that one. The other one that I don't know, Jeremy wants to know, does the update the name that's synced to QuickBooks Online or just create a new one when you rename the product from copy of?
Ooh, that, yeah, you definitely have to test that. That's a really good question. That's interesting. Does it, I think it depends if you're using QuickBooks Desktop or online. If you just search for QB in our knowledge base articles, I believe if you're using online, it will update the product, send products to QuickBooks as items when product is updated. It's a yes for QuickBooks Online, but not for desktop. So I would still test that. We don't have a way to do it. We don't have a QuickBooks account on this demo, but it looks like it should according to what I'm reading here.
And then Richard asked about how the dynamic counts work if someone removes a couple workstations in the middle of the billing cycle.
A good question. It will not prorate. It will not prorate. So if you on your recurring invoice, basically I think it calculates it right before it sends it out. Is that correct, Crystal? I don't think it will. It's like if you had 8 endpoints that are you're billing on a per endpoint basis, and then halfway through the month it jumps down to 4, it will bill for those 4 right before the invoice goes out as you have it scheduled. I believe that is
one way that I've kind of had a workaround with that is if there's like an interim, if you're trying to switch, like if you're replacing a device or something, and so you don't want to show up, like you don't want it to show that there's 2 devices, you could always put the one that is about to be a part of the MSP plan in a certain policy until like the first of the month or something like that, and one click just change all of those into the new policy. That would be a dynamic counter. That's one way, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of, there's a lot you can do. It's not going to be automated, but there's workarounds for sure.
Yeah, so you can, what Brandy's saying is you can select the endpoints here and move them to a different policy while you're adjusting the other ones and change those in bulk. There's definitely a lot of different ways that you can do it. Just depends on what you think is the easiest for you.
Awesome.
Okay, good question.
Really good. Great follow-up questions too. Let's go ahead. I'm going to grab these next few in a row. These pretty quick answers. The first one from Jared, is it necessary to enable the leads module for email to ticket creation? Yep, you do need the leads module going. The leads module, just high level, is if it's basically like a catch-all. If we can't create a ticket because we don't have the right amount of information from the submission, it's going to create a lead for you. So yes, you do need to have the leads module enabled for that to work properly. Derek wants to know, how do you create additional asset types? I've seen examples of router, printer, switch, but I don't know where to manually or automatically create them. Good question. Where do my Zoom things go? Let me share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to head over to the admin section here, and I queued this report up for the next question that's in line here. But if you go to customers, you'll see that you have asset custom fields. And so this isn't the easiest thing to find because it's under customers, but this is how you create custom asset types. So you can see this is where you've got all of your, routers, printers, that kind of thing. But what's nice is once you've created a new asset type here and you see router, you can manage fields. So if these are then manually created. So whatever you want to store on that asset, it could be any type of a custom field again, whether it's the drop-down checkbox, encrypted. So you have all of the different options there as well. So that's how you do that. And then just real quickly, the next one in line is where can I see all the products I have sold to each customer? So if you go to reports, so I just went to, I have it obviously up here right now, but if you just go to reports and then you'll see, I can start from the beginning. I just wanted to make sure I was showing you the right report. If you go to reports and you see sales reports down here and you go to the sales detail report, you can filter by customer. So you can say, I want to know, everything I've sold for Larry, and you can run this report. What's nice about this one is you can export it to a CSV. So if you want to drill down to specific types and that kind of thing, you can kind of further define that as well. All right. What's next?
I'll grab this one from Anthony. He says, how can you show all tickets with pricing but zero out the invoice for an all-you-can-eat type of monthly set fee? Want to show the customer the work and what it would cost, if not on a monthly retainer. So couple different things going on here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And so I'm going to kind of also reference this question because there's a couple things here. So the easiest way to show your customer all the tickets but zero out the invoice, I think you might need to do that manually, because the current setup that you have within Synchro is you can, when you're building your tickets, these charges will carry over to your invoice no matter what. So if we go into any ticket, I will also show contracts here, which have a part to play in what you're asking about. So when you're billing your customer, they would be able to see on the ticket. If you go over to, I'm going to go ahead and charge some of these. On the ticket charges, it will show the pricing here as it's being pulled in. And so this will carry over to your invoice. There isn't a way to show this pricing on the ticket, but then have it show a $0 amount on the invoice, because these line items will be carried over to an invoice. However, you could, if you wanted to, create a $0 override for each of these labor items or each of these products on a customer per customer basis. So it's kind of almost kind of a all or nothing type of a setup, to where if you have your contracts within Synchro, this is where you can specify your per customer pricing. So let's say your customer is paying you, I don't know, $10,000 per month. And in that contract that you have with them, you're saying, hey, all labor is included in that, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, remote labor is included, on-site labor is included. And so you can use the $0 override, but again, it will override this ticket to a $0 amount and your invoice to a $0 amount as well. The only other thing I can think to add to that is if you, I don't know, even if you don't charge the time to the ticket, that won't be listed on the invoice. And I don't know if that would be listed on, the pricing would be listed on the ticket at that point. So that currently, I think you would have to zero those out, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question. And then it looks like below that, Andy says, probably feature requests, but could we have credentials, for example, website logins for vendors? Currently I use customers and with a custom field to give me a list using a saved search of vendors. So one suggestion that I have for this, I think how you're doing it does work, but I'll show you too. I would recommend documentation for this as well, because you can have documentation that is customer specific, or you could also, if you have kind of the same vendor login email address for all 10 of your vendors, you could technically build a customer and just name them vendor and then create a documentation that's listed to that vendor. Or you can have documentation on a customer per customer basis as well, and just pop that into there. Just choose if you want to make that available via the customer portal or not. So that is the suggestion that I would have for you there.
Awesome.
Cool. You guys want me to grab these top two and just so we can organize a little bit? This top one from Roger, I can kind of like crowdsource this because I know we posted it, but I'll just kind of read this. He's loving chat, but when a new chat comes in, it doesn't automatically scroll up. So sometimes he doesn't know if a new chat has come in. I did notice that you are using Firefox, and definitely our recommended browser is the updated version of Chrome. So if anyone else is experiencing that, for sure, let us know. I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that you're using Firefox. And if so, I think that might be, I still think our technical support, and we've posted that, should know that, and we can test that too. But it might just be a browser thing. Then the next one is from Jared. I want to create a rule or something that blocks automatic ticket lead creation for certain email addresses. What is the best way to accomplish this? So really, really good question. I think right now, I'm just going to share my screen because I'm going to show you some mailbox settings here, and I'm sure you've seen these. And I don't know the specific use case. I don't know if there's just like a troublesome customer that won't stop creating tickets. I don't know if that's the case, then I'm not sure. You can always create, like if it is that scenario, you could always create like a specific mailbox that says never create tickets automatically, so that you could then decide what you want to do with them. In addition to that, like if it's just like basically spam that you don't care about and you don't want anything happening, you can, if you're in your leads module, you can mark something as spam so that it doesn't generate a ticket, it doesn't generate a lead, it's just going to not process really anything in the system. So it really depends on the use case, but you can't right now anyways per customer say, nope, this one I don't want to create a ticket or a lead. So hopefully that at least gives you some clarification.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to take the next two. Sebastian and Russell are both asking questions about recurring invoices. So Sebastian says, haven't created an invoice yet, but is there a way to add a date range automatically to every invoice? I need the invoice to show it is for a certain billing period. So June will show the billing period May 1st through May 31st. And then I'm going to go ahead and read Russell's because I'll show both of them. On a recurring invoice of one price for all, if there is an inventory item sold, can that be added to the invoice? So let me just go ahead and share my screen real quickly and show you guys a couple things. So the first question, Sebastian, in your period mode here, there isn't a way to specify like this is for March 1st through March whatever. It's not even March right now, it's June. The year is flying, but you can specify in arrears or in advance or in advance inclusive. So this will say like, if you are billing them in arrears, the billing period is going to end the day of the invoice creation. So if you create it on June 1st, then the billing period will end that day. There's not further specifications that you can make on here at the time, but I'm happy to pass that along as well. What some people do too is they'll make a note on their template that will say, you know, due in 2 weeks or 14 days or whatever it is. So if you wanted to send it one day, but you wanted to give them, you know, a full month or 2 weeks to pay, then you could do that too. And then of course, when you want it to run next. And then the question about adding items, if there was an inventory item sold. So there's two different ways you can do this. If you had sold that inventory item on a ticket throughout the month or the week, whatever it was, you can add any pending ticket charges. So if that was on a ticket, you could just pull that in automatically, or you can add a one-off item. So I can come here at any point in time. So I'm just gonna pop back over into my invoices and show you, go into recurring invoices, and I can say, okay, this one is gonna run on June 25th. Let me go ahead and add an inventory item here. So I'm gonna scroll down, I'm gonna create a standard line item. You can just pull something from your inventory, or you can add a manual item. And then right here, you can just choose it's a one-time charge, and you can go ahead and add that to the template. So it's not gonna add the same item next month, it's just a one-time thing, but that would be another way that you could do so. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Real quick, I'm just going to grab this one from Russell. If testing QuickBooks, is there a way to start fresh after testing? Would it be best to make a copy of the database and test with the copy before moving it to production? Yep. I just actually had a conversation yesterday, and that is absolutely the best way. Make a copy, do some testing before you go live. Yep. Let's see here. And then I think we're waiting to get a clear answer for Richard. I just want to let you know we're not skipping your question. We're just getting a little bit of clarification to make sure we answer this one properly. And then I'll just grab this really quick from Jared. I think this is kind of a three-part question here. First, how do email rules work? I don't get what are the triggers and what are the actions. Okay. So let's go to email rules first. Let's go to admin, and Brandy kind of mentioned these really quickly on like a customer level, where they show up as a custom field for that customer. If you go into an actual email rule though specifically, let's go into this one. There are, oops, let me go there. If you edit these, you've got some settings here. So you have a subject filter, you have like who this is attached to, if it's attached to a specific contact, and then you can select like if it's coming into, you know, a specific mailbox. So essentially, my understanding is that all of these different filters are, let me think about this. If it's, let me think about this now. Now I'm like second guessing myself because I know that I've used email rules several times to do specific things. I'm just trying to remember exactly like you're saying what the trigger is, because I think what we want to know is if it's coming in from this domain. Obviously Brandy talked about how it can automatically create a contact for you, but do you guys have better explanations on the filter and the customer name? I'm trying to remember. I think that my understanding is if it comes in from this email address into this mailbox, like you can automatically assign it to a specific technician. I know that.
Yeah, that goes back to like similar to the agent contact form. So if a particular technician is assigned to a particular customer, then okay, all of these emails that come in from this domain are going to assign to whatever technician it is. That's really the most common use case that I've seen for it. Or if it does have a certain subject, so if a certain technician, you know, again, it goes back to the tech skills. If the subject is something in particular, and maybe you could even like send documentation to your customers about how to subject their emails to you. So if it was urgent and they had the word urgent in there, then it would go to a particular technician. Or if it had a particular word, I don't know, that's kind of, you would probably need documentation. It's like you would have to train your customers to use the subject fields properly, but you could do that too.
Yeah, and I think this is like sparking me remembering another use case too. We have a lot of people that maybe are using some sort of third-party tool to monitor maybe, you know, like network devices. So if it has like a specific subject filter, like if there's a certain, you know, network monitoring alert, it goes to a specific, you know, through that specific funnel. So I think those are the main use cases for these email rules. Obviously, the most common one is to get contacts created automatically, in my opinion, and so that it automatically knows by domain where to place this ticket. The next part of the, oh, did someone?
I was going to say, while you're there, Russell just says admin mailboxes, explain in a little more detail on how to use. Do I use my support at whatever email address that users can email to create a ticket? If so, I don't see where to put my credentials to log into the account. So you'll have to activate that, and there's like a process that you go through to do so. It will, yeah, if it's a new mailbox, it'll have you go through the process of activating that mailbox. But yeah, I would put your support at address just while we're right there.
Yeah, and so you go through the forwarding process. It's not a login or like anything like that. You just go, you basically set that email address to forward into Synchro. So there's not like a credential login once you're into Synchro. Okay. Then let's talk really quickly about, I'm going to go over to contracts and then hop into service level agreements really quickly as well, because we have added a lot of things to service level agreements, one being like having active hours, but essentially like this is a way to, I like this just if you do have a service level agreement assigned to a specific customer, like if they should always go to high priority, for example, using service level agreements is a really great way to do that. Especially, this is another way if you want, say, client A always gets assigned to you know, maybe Amy, for example, and company B always gets assigned to Steven. So there's different ways you can do that. Service level agreements are a nice way to do that. And then the last thing I'll just touch on really quickly, because we could probably deep dive huge into these, and maybe this is a good place to, I'm going to make some notes. Maybe we should do that. But then ticket automations here. So there are so many crazy things you can do with ticket automations, especially if you are, like Brandy mentioned, like training your technicians to subject their emails in a specific way, because you even can have like ticket subject is not, or contains. Like if a ticket in any way contains urgent, for example, or whatever that might be, you can then have it select and do specific actions, maybe assign to a specific technician. Have it ascend. I like the idea of, sending text messages really quickly, because maybe that means let's look at this right away. So ticket automations are used for a lot of different ways. Follow-up emails, making sure you don't forget about something. If the status is like waiting on a customer, you can have it remind you 12 hours later. So there's a lot of things you can do with ticket automations that I won't take more time, but hopefully that helps.
Very helpful. Thank you so much. Question here from Ryan. He says, when doing time entry, any way we can just enter 15 minutes for time rather than picking the hour and minute, looking to save some time during time entry? So yes, I'll share my screen here real quick and I'll show you the different ways. I'm not going to dive in too deep, and I'll explain why in just a second. So on any ticket, there's 4 different ways to track time. My personal favorite is right within the communication section. So you can choose how you want to communicate with the customer. Maybe you want to send them an email. If you have SMS enabled, you can send them a text. You can enter whatever notes you need. And this is the easiest way if you want to just quickly say, hey, I'm working on remote access and I need it. I've been doing this work for 15 minutes. You can just quickly pop that into there, either email them, or you can also automatically update the ticket status, which is super helpful to have all those types of actions. So again, I just added 15 minutes. If you go over to the labor log and you click view log, it'll show you, hey, there's those 15 minutes. You're probably using this section here, which is the second way to add time. Third way is, of course, to use the ticket timer. And then last way is you can also add and view charges. If you needed to, you can add labor hour by hour in here, and just selecting the quantity here too. So the reason I won't dive in too deep, and we actually just did a deep dive last week on efficient ways to charge time. So if you are curious, there's a ton of automations. You can involve scripting and adding time. And so there's probably, outside of the 4 that I mentioned, there's probably at least 2 I can think of off the top of my head of other ways you can efficiently charge time. And so I think it's the first 5 or 10 minutes of this video here, if you'd like to take a look on our YouTube channel there. So hopefully that helps answer that direct question for you. And then the next question here was from Anonymous. They say, any plan to integrate Synchro with Stripe ACH? So yes, we actually do integrate with Stripe for payment processing, as well as Worldpay and PayPal. So if you go over to the App Center, you'll notice that Stripe is listed here. You'll notice too, with Stripe specifically, you can save the customer's payment profile here to do automatic withdrawals if you wanted to. That's available through Worldpay as well. And with Worldpay specifically, you can do ACH payments, which is huge. If you're looking to cut costs on those credit card fees, that's really helpful. And I'll show you also what it looks like from the customer's perspective as well. If you set up any one of those payment processors, again, Worldpay, PayPal, or Stripe, if you go to the customer profile, they'll be able to enter actually their own card information. They can even make a payment straight within the customer portal. And again, we don't charge anything extra for setting up those integrations. You just bring your own profiles and you set up the integration with us for free. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
Awesome. Is it my turn?
Nope, I think that I took 3 in a row. Sorry, I was so excited. Next one here is a question from Daniel. He says, is there a way for a manager to dispatch and prioritize tickets to technicians? So there is a way to do that, and I'll go ahead and share my screen again. And within Synchro, there's a couple things that I recommend. As you guys already know, in the tickets section, you have the ability to create any ticket status that you want. I literally have one called random ticket status. You can also obviously adjust the priority, and you can customize the ticket types. I have a random ticket type in here. So whatever makes sense for your guys' workflow, the type of customers that you guys are serving, that is a really easy way for you to have you know, a team lead or a manager organize tickets based on the priorities, the statuses, or the types. So if you go over to the tickets section, just the general area here, you have the capability to create a saved ticket search. So in this section here, I have some saved already. So if you want to see all the new ones, they would filter in just like that. Looks like I don't have any under that specification there. But again, when you're creating these or you're creating a new one, there's a ton of filters for you to choose from. So you can say, hey, if it's, you know, this is the name of the search that I want it to be, it's going to be public, so listed to everyone on the team. You can say if the status is new, I want it, and the status is, you know, has not been reviewed or something like that, whatever it might be. This is where you would build that saved ticket search. And then again, what's important to specify here too is each technician can have their own default view. So when they log in on each of their individual portals, they will be able to access the default list of tickets that you want them to see. Again, that's customized here in that advanced search. So if you do have a lead that needs to assign them, I would utilize all three of those fields here and really customize it to be the way that you guys want it.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to grab a few in a row here. First from Evan, is there a recommended procedure to have new tickets push notifications to technicians? Customer email comes in, ticket is created but not yet assigned to a technician. Email is sent to technicians notifying them that a ticket was created. So absolutely. If you have not checked this out yet, if you head to your admin section, this is the global way to do this. If you just head to your notification center, every technician could have a totally different notification set. Admins could have something different, but there is, what's nice is that based upon whatever, like a lot of different events, but if a ticket was created, for example, a ticket was created from an email, ticket was created for anyone, essentially. However the ticket was created, then you can choose how you want to be notified about it. So whether it's an email, an SMS, and then I think I saw later down here too, you know, you can use a webhook, post to Slack, use Microsoft Teams. So there's a lot of different ways that you can push those notifications. So this is how you could do that on a global scale using your admin and notification settings.
While you're on that page, will you, you did see the question. I don't know, where is it? Oh, Jeremy, he said he switched most of his notifications to using Team, but he still gets emails for ticket replies and can't find where to turn that off. So on here, you'll see someone replied to my ticket. That is one of those options, and email is likely selected there.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for putting that in there. And then from Paul, sorry, I guess I didn't answer your question from earlier. I actually meant, how do I get a list of products like physical printer, PC, inventory item that have been sold to each customer so I can see serial number, sold price, warranty, etc. So this one's a little bit more tricky. We do have an integration with Warranty Master that does all of this very well. What we have built in organically, and this again, it's like a yes and no, I feel like, type of answer, because if you sell them a computer and then you put the agent on it, then you have it as an asset created for that customer. Same thing goes for, sorry if you can hear my dog is barking. Same things go for if you sell them a printer and then create that as a custom asset, you absolutely can create like an asset audit report. And you can be very specific. So if you wanted to just audit like all of the printers and things like that, of course they have to be then created as an asset attached to that customer. So for example, if I look up Larry here, and the asset type I didn't select one, so it's going to tell me everything. You can filter this list also. So like if you wanted to customize what columns you're seeing, this is nice because then any asset you create, you can have custom fields and bring that and pull that into this report. So hopefully that helps. And then just really quickly, Russell, we installed an agent on a computer and then changed the computer name over an hour did not show on assets. Do I need to reinstall the agent? You definitely don't need to reinstall the agent. There's a few things here. Let's make sure, because I want to bring myself back up to speed, because I know that this was something that we changed recently, I believe. Or is it now just default? I can't remember on the asset how you keep it to a friendly name, or is it on a per asset thing now? I can't remember. Do you guys know?
I thought it was in the RMM settings that there was an option to make
I know, but
the computer name match the.
I actually think we might have updated this into the actual asset now. Because something's going ring-a-ding-a-ding that maybe we just updated this. But there's like a long and short, I think, to this answer. I think it's automatically going to update too, but if you want to show like right now, you could just like really quickly like go into the policy that's applied and like resave the policy and it'll resync. If that doesn't work, I would just, even if you, because the one thing that I don't know is if asset name might be one of those things, because everything checks in a different way. So RMM alerts, like the organic alerts, the agent checks in organically every 15 minutes. If you're running a script, it does it in real time. A lot of online, offline notifications happen in real time, but that name might be the 6-hour check. So like system information that might be part of what updates every 6 hours. So if you want to see it right away, I would just like make a quick, like, open the policy and resave it or something like that to trigger that. Does that make sense? I mean, is that kind of what you guys would say too?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Good stuff.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and grab a couple here. So Jared says, sorry for the clarification. Whoa, where did it go? About ticket automation. Is it possible to have multiple conditions? So if there are multiple conditions, do they all have to be met or just one to trigger the action? So example, subject contains blank and ticket status is new. So real quickly, let me just share my screen so I can walk you through this. All conditions will have to be met if you are adding multiple conditions. So for example, I made one here. Ticket status is new, the ticket priority is urgent, and it hasn't been updated in 1 hour. All three of these things would have to be met prior to this action running. So same exact thing for automated remediations. And that's because you don't want this action to occur if any ticket comes through that's just new. You want it to make sure that, hey, it hasn't been updated, it's urgent, it's new, no one's working on it, and then boom, let's do this. So all conditions will need to be met that you do add here. Now, yes, you can absolutely add as many as you want, or again, you can just say, I only have one condition, and it is if this new ticket is urgent, then I want to do, this particular action. So really, really good question there. And then there's another question about being able to change the color scheme. So I know you can do this from the customer portal. You're not able to do it in your own Synchro dashboard, but you could use dark mode if you prefer that. Sometimes people like to use dark mode and it changes it a bit.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. A question here from Kyle. He says, I think the question on Stripe ACH is to use Stripe ACH, not Worldpay ACH. I think that was discussed in the Facebook group and it was not able to be done for some reason, but not 100% sure. Yes, ACH through obviously a routing and account number is currently only available through Worldpay. Stripe does do automatic withdrawals from a credit card if you need that. So I can pass that along as a feature request. A couple other ones here. One is from Scott. He says, any idea of the ability to customize the columns on the ticket or asset list pages to be changeable by anyone other than the global admin? Different people have different needs to be able to change these, and he had another follow-up one on the global admin permissions as well. I'll definitely pass those along. I think we need to build a KB that shows the specifics of what is available to the global admin versus the regular admin, so I'll definitely pass that along to the team as well. And then I'll grab a couple more here. Roger says, is there a way to set the system to allow it to show currency with 2 decimal points? For some reason, I was researching this. I thought it was like that by default, and I could not find the setting to set that. So I'll double check for you, and I'll drop it into the chat box and see if I'm able to find that setting. And then the last one here is from Anonymous. They say, my business starts tickets or projects or FYI via a phone call. Can the communications be a tab with a customer selected? So I don't know exactly how to answer your question. It's not super clear to me at least, but I'll show you a couple things that if you are on the phone and or you're starting a new project for a customer, I personally feel obviously if you're on a customer profile, you can tab over to the communication section to kind of denote what is happening on the conversation. But if you need to create a ticket straight from here, we point this one out all the time, but I love using the magnifying glass to create a ticket here because it'll automatically attach the asset there as well. So hopefully that helps answer your question. And yes, you can use this communications tab. So again, if you can provide a little bit more clarity, I'm happy to address that question a little bit more directly. That's it for me.
Awesome. I was just going to grab really quick, can a network discovery be available, allowing to turn into an asset, either synchro or manual? So right now we do not have network discovery or like a probe type of situation. If you are coming from another RMM, we have awesome import tools. We have an MSI installer and that kind of thing. So otherwise it's going to be manual to it's going to be manual when it comes to creating a printer or a router or that kind of thing. And then just really quickly, I feel really, Richard, I'm so sorry. We're not getting a response right now on, so the question is this, and maybe someone knows. I think I have an answer. I just was going to hopefully get like just a double verification there. But the question is, what is best practices for tickets with zero amounts? Should we convert these to invoices or just leave them as resolved ticket? Does either way affect any reports that can be ran? I think this is preference. I don't think it's going to affect it one way or the other. If it's a zero amount and you resolve that ticket, that's not going to show up weird, negative anywhere. And also, like for example, $0 amount invoices, I know for QuickBooks anyways, don't sync to QuickBooks. So like, it's really like, you don't need to create a $0 invoice unless you need to send that to your customer. If you want them to see that, yeah, you did this thing, but it's zero, absolutely. Create it, send it, but it's not going to affect anything in a negative way from my understanding. If I get any other information on the contrary, I'll for sure let you know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's definitely personal preference because at the end of the day, you want to show your value to the customer. But even if it's $0 and you want to send them a monthly report that shows, you know, it was $0, but I did 50 hours of work, it just happened to be included, you're still going to be able to do that. Some people just like to be able to see line items, and totally up to you.
Yeah, and you can always pull in those pending ticket charges on whatever recurring invoice that you have going out anyway. That will automatically pull those line items if you do build them. A question here from Kyle. He says, can we have a CC on tickets by default? For example, one person in a company submits a request, but CC the owner so they're available to approve or chime in on the ticket, estimate, invoice, etc. So I double checked this setting and I might not know the complete answer to this. I don't think it's currently available. If you do go over to on the customer profile, if you go over to the contact section, you do have these different other CC options. So if you have someone who's for example, the finance person who needs to get all of the invoice emails only, you can make sure that that person is receiving the billing emails or the marketing emails or receiving report emails. But I don't think there's a way to CC the one person on every single ticket communication. And correct me if I'm wrong, ladies.
Nope, that's all good. I'll grab this one from Anthony. Upon completing testing, can all customers, tickets, alerts, invoices, etc., just be deleted to go live? And can the first invoice, first ticket number be set back to the earlier number in preferences and not have any issues going forward? Opening day coming soon. Yay, congratulations. Now, so the answer is yes, we have a purge option. You can email technical support and this will forever delete customers, estimates, tickets, invoices, forever delete. So I say that multiple times, forever delete, they're not coming back. As far as like alerts and assets, if you wanted to start fresh there, you would just have to manually mass delete those. We don't reset the account in that way, so you can just delete those alerts. And no, it should not have an effect if you change, as long as you haven't been like on those invoices syncing to QuickBooks or anything. I can't see any reason to go back and start with a fresh number in the invoices and ticket numbers. So you should be good to go. So just email technical support, help@syncromsp.com, ask for a purge link, they'll get it to you. Let's see here. I haven't read this one. Sometimes I work in an evening, and if I send emails from Outlook, I schedule them to go out at the start of the next working day, as I don't want to give the impression I'm available 24 hours a day.
Smart.
Sounds really familiar. Has anyone in this group ever gotten an email from me in the middle of the night or the weekend?
I need to find an answer for this. That could be put in as a feature request in the tickets module, or is that an unreasonable request? Andy, I don't think any request is an unreasonable request, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I was just trying to think if there was any way. The only thing is that you're meaning like you're using Outlook. It's probably a personal, like specific type of email, because you can run ticket automations and you can select that they're only during your business hours. So if it was an automated something, you could do that, but this way you can't do that right now, but I can see the value in the request because that would be cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow. Phew, 4 minutes and our queue is empty.
That's pretty good.
Oh. Anyone else have anything?
I wanted to mention something. I know we're kind of right at the end here. Jeremy says, enjoy the sunshine, ladies. Thank you. We will. It's finally stopped raining here after like a month. It just feels like it's been raining for years here in Spokane, Washington. So it just feels so good.
Sunny. There's sun out there.
Yes, it's there. I definitely want to say we do appreciate you guys joining today. And I personally have a huge favor request. So obviously our entire team is excited to see you guys succeed. We want to do everything that we can for you guys to continue to grow and make more money with Synchro. So because that's a personal goal of ours, we are experiencing some personal growth ourselves, and we want to reach and help as many MSPs as possible. So with that being said, we are launching a brand new review campaign, and I would love it if you guys could write a review for us based on your experience with Synchro. So only takes 2 minutes to quickly sign up and submit a review. And so if you're interested, if you've gained value from Synchro, if you've grown your business, if you've been able to become more efficient, if you enjoy using Synchro, if you like joining open office hours, we would surely appreciate you guys submitting a review for us. So I'll drop that into the chat box, and it'll be there and it'll disappear after our call. But again, we greatly appreciate you guys doing that for us, and for joining us for these open office hours. We have a blast. It's fun. All of us look forward to this all week, and it's just a great way to kick off the weekend. So thank you so much.
Yes. And Derek, I just dropped a link in the chat box for everyone. So it looks like this was his last on his calendar. That's going to be your Friday open office hour registration link.
And we do, specifically with open office hours too, we did start doing one on Tuesdays as well. If you are in an active trial within Synchro, is that the one that you were just talking about, Brandy?
No, I dropped the Friday one in there.
Oh, yep. Yeah. So if you're in an active trial, those are a little bit more smaller. They're a little bit more laid back, and we can really go further in depth and answer your guys' questions. So if you are interested in joining, just email one of us, whoever your account rep is. It's just our first name at synchromsp.com, and we'll send you the link to those as well.
Yeah, and Tuesdays are a little bit more surface level. So just getting started with Synchro instead of the nitty gritty rapid fire like Fridays can sometimes be intimidating because you guys have these crazy awesome questions and it's like boom, boom, boom. And on Tuesdays for trial users, you know, they're just getting started and we want to be able to handhold a little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's, yeah.
No reviews if we don't like Synchro. Get out of here. Just kidding.
Also, as far as our conferences that we are attending, as soon as we have a list, updated list, I will be shouting it from the rooftops because I'm so excited to travel again. So we will keep you posted, but usually that's like a marketing email. We let you know where we're going to be, that kind of thing, but you'll hear it from us too. But aside from that, you guys, this has been a wonderful Friday. Great, great questions. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. For all of you fathers here, happy Father's Day. I hope you get spoiled. Have a wonderful day. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.